All right, what's up, everybody? It is Monday, and welcome back to Spilling the Anxiety. Whew. All right, I know for you guys, I tried my best to put out consistent episodes, but actually, I just came back from an extended vacation, so I pre-recorded my last couple of podcast episodes and just released them on time. So for me, it feels like it's been a minute since I've talked to you guys. So welcome. Today is not going to be an extremely long episode. I'm going to try. I get so accustomed to talking so much junk that it's really hard to make something a short episode, but I've been working on it for you guys. So today what I do is on my phone, I have this list of whenever I hear something that I think resonates with me or that I think would resonate with you guys. I take out the stylus on my phone and I jot down, I have this little thing, podcast ideas, and I get in there and I put things down. I had several good topics on there that I collected during my little hiatus off that I wanted to discuss, but actually I'm going to push those episodes back a little bit, and I want to talk about something that directly affects me, which is parenting. Now, I think a lot of people are under the impression that my podcast and my website are specifically for parents. And it's not. That's just the majority of my struggle and my problem. So it may come off as that way. But there are a lot of people, and I want to start getting into topics for those that don't really have children, just struggles in general. So if you haven't checked out my website yet, it's www.spillinganxiety, SPILLINGANXIETEA.com. Check it out. We might have some services. When I say we, I mean me, because this is a one-woman operation. Might have some services on there for you that you guys would be happy with. So let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, I'm going to explain the topic that I want to talk to you guys about today. Okay, so stay tuned and hang in there with me. All right, so we are back from the break. Hope you guys had a smoke, had a coffee, used the bathroom, whatever it is. Chances are you guys are listening to this like in your car on your way to work, so whatever works for you. So, today's topic, parenting. I don't think that parenting was ever easy, but it was never easy, but it is a lot harder nowadays because there is so much that parents have to compete with. Funny thing is, this morning I was at a doctor's appointment with my father, and I met somebody who, I recently moved down to North Carolina and I'm from the Bronx. So I met somebody, I guess it was his medical assistant, I didn't ask her position, and she was relatively young looking, very young looking actually, and I heard her talk, and by the end of the examination that she was giving my father, taking his vitals and all that other stuff, I'm like, were you born here? Are you from here? She said no, and I knew immediately the answer would be no. But I knew she was from the Bronx, just by the way she was talking, by the way she was walking. If not the Bronx, she had to be from New York. Sure enough, she was from the Bronx, and we had our little, soul sister reunion. And we were discussing how we each have 3 children. I'll be honest with you, by the time, I don't remember much about my mom and what she looked like, I guess, when I was growing up. But I do know by the time I could remember, like I was a teenager, my mom always kind of just looked like a mom. She looked like an adult. She looked very, very much so like what you expect. For the same way that I guess some people have. Nowadays, you could be a grandparent and still be wearing tight jeans, still be young, all that other stuff. I feel like growing up in our heads, a grandparent was, an old lady or an old man with gray hair and, kind of slightly frumpy looking, the age got to them a little bit, but they looked more, let's say, demure. Nowadays, you got women who are grandmas that are still wearing lowrider jeans and got piercings and tattoos and colored hair. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just, I feel like that's kind of what I saw between me and this person. She and I feel like maybe it's just because, well, her kids, she said, are a little bit older. But for me, my kids are still young. And I feel like in the right light with the right outfit, I could probably pass for a senior in high school or somebody who's attending college. Now, I'm 27. I'm not the oldest person on the block, but I'm certainly not the youngest. And I feel like it is not completely unheard of for somebody my age to have three children. So, but the funny thing is, I anticipate myself looking like this and being this vibrant, let's say, and this young looking, maybe until I hit 40. I might look a little, I will look a little bit more aged then. But right now, I feel like I could pass for an older sister to my kids, or maybe an older relative that's not, maybe the aunt. I don't know. So the reason why I say this is because we were discussing our parenting styles, and it was kind of just like, we were like, yo, we moved down here because when you have kids, living in New York hits different. It really does. And it's not the same. My kids wouldn't face the same childhood that I did. My mom was always working. My dad was just, we went to my dad only on his days off. And even then it was a pretty whack existence, to be honest. So they looked like parents, especially for me. My dad was in his 40s when I came about. So he didn't just look like a dad. I've had people who ask me if he's my grandpa. And it was, I don't think my kids could, it's not that my kids couldn't make it. They have me so they can make it. And they have their dad who, between the two of us, we could give them the right tools to make it. But today's day and age is so much harder. I think about my very first cell phone, and my very first cell phone was a Nokia. Nokia? I'm probably butchering that. But it was, it was the brick. So, and then, I had the bleep bleep walkie talkie. I had the Motorola. And when I think about how much technology has advanced from when my first cell phone to now, I sit there and I'm like, wow, that advancement is amazing. But these kids are not going to have to go through that. They have technology already available. I didn't have my first tablet until I was 18 years old. My kids already have tablets. You know what I'm saying? And they know how to navigate YouTube. I didn't steadily use YouTube until I was a teenager. And when I say teenager, I mean like almost an adult. It was a crazy concept. Searching things up in the middle of the street when we had 2 gigs of internet and unlimited internet was not a thing. When I think about all of these things, I'm like, my kids already have these tools at their disposal. They don't have to go through that transition and change. So I'm speaking with this girl, and I see that, we're talking about it, and it really just hit me that parenting has changed a lot. And so I was reading, not only when I was doing just the trauma dumping, but I've also been seeing articles for how heavy metal levels in breastfeeding have skyrocketed, and now apparently breastfeeding is the wrong thing to do, and there's a formula shortage. They're talking about, ooh, that's what triggered it. I was watching last week's episode of Grey's Anatomy. Without getting into too much spoiler alert, Owen and Teddy, they were discussing, I guess they're going to therapy to see if they can handle or how to handle and go about dealing with Leo's desire to be a girl, or I don't want to say his confusion because I feel like that'll get me attacked, but he's in this stage where he doesn't really understand that he's a boy, or he feels like he's a girl. The show hasn't really clarified if they've made it seem like, oh, this is just something that I like to dress in dresses. Mind you, he's a little boy, who is actually played by female twins, but he's, Leo calls him a cowboy, and he's like, no, I'm a girl. And so Teddy is uneasy about that because she feels like oh my God, what is his life going to be? Is this a decision that we have to make right now? Which I feel like as a parent, that's a really hard decision to make. There have been several cases of kids who, in these malleable years, they're they feel like they're one thing. And I mean, I went through that myself. I thought I had identities that were a part of me, that if I gave it some time and some space, nobody influenced me, nobody said anything. These were all just revelations that came about that I was like, oh, that's not it. I just saw that and thought I wanted to be a part of that community because I was seeking that kind of attention. And then it turns out that doesn't really fit me. It's not something I feel comfortable with. But everybody says that I should be comfortable with it, so I'm going to try to be. That is so hard for parents to navigate. So Owen suggests that they go to therapy to discuss how they should handle it. Not really how they should approach Leo, but how they should handle it. And I feel like raising kids is already hard enough without having the weight of them struggling to figure out their identity, who they are, what they want to be labeled as, whether they want a label, whether they want the label that says they have no labels. It's a lot. So what my issue with this is that if I could, I would be a parent 20 years ago. Because I'm sure at that point, whoever was parents then had the same issues with technology exploding the way that we do now. At least for the most part, we are in a time and age where technology is both moving very, very fast, and for the most part, whatever, it stays stagnant because aside from a few new features, there's very little that's like entirely brand new. So parenting now, I don't know how I'm supposed to deal with all of this. You've got opinions coming out from the wazoo, from everybody that says, in order to raise a happy kid, you've got to do this. I'm sure everybody's seen those like videos where they talk about how as a woman, if you're committed to one person your entire life, you're not experienced. But if you have too many people, you're a hoe. If you are a stay-at-home mom, then you don't have any ambitions. But if you go out to work, then you're neglecting your kid. There really is no way to be perfect in this world. Now, my problem with parenting at this point is that I have looked for ways to not fuck up my kids. Do I think that there's things that I've already done that may give them, I don't want to say complexes, but things that they have to live with that they're scared of because of me? Yes. I don't by any means beat my children. I don't by any means beat my children. I don't verbally abuse them or call them stupid. I don't do any of those things. But I do know that my daughters are sometimes scared to disappoint me because when I am disappointed, I make it known. You can see it on my face. I'm angry because you messed this up. But they say that you're not supposed to show that anger to a child, and you're not supposed to make them fearful of this, and you're not supposed to in the episode also, I know I'm a terrible storyteller, I'm sorry. The one of the things that Teddy was worried about was that the therapist was like, let Leo guide you on this journey that he's on because it's his journey. And going back to that TikTok video that I referenced a couple of podcasts ago, that episodes, I feel like a couple of podcasts ago is not the right way to say that, but whatever. So she's talking about how, Gen Z is just standing up to their parents because, baby boomers and millennials, they're used to beating their children to get the answers, and, it's not how it used to be. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff nowadays that says, you shouldn't listen to your parents just because that's the way that things have always been done. You're a person, stand up for yourself and all this other stuff. And that's all great. Those are things that I wish I could have done as a kid, but I was a kid. And now that I'm a parent, especially people in my age group, there are a lot of people that are just like, man, I didn't realize that my parents were right about this when I was getting older, because now I find myself saying the same thing to my children. And that's the problem, I feel like what's going on is that a lot of us, we thought we knew better. I'm sitting down and I'm having a conversation with my kid's dad the other day because it's like, I watch these Law and Order episodes, Law and Order SVU, and it's, there's always that girl that she thought she was smarter, more special. I don't know what she thought, but she thought she had it under control, and then she goes out, she gets assaulted, and shit is just hitting the fan super fast. And it's like, why do kids do that? Why is it that, your parents are telling you, hey, this person who has this modeling gig, I know that you think that this is legit, but I promise you it's not. And even if it is, you don't want to run that risk. And these kids all feel like, listen, my parents are giving me advice, and I know that happens to a lot of people, but it's not going to happen to me because I'm just so smart. I don't know where they're getting this from. Like, you don't have the life experience. You think that because I don't trust you to do something, or that I don't want you to do something, it's because I don't trust you or because I don't think that you're intelligent. No, but the same way that you need life experience or job experience to do a particular job, you need life experience to make these decisions. Hell, I am on my third kid, and there are still things that, even though I did them with my daughters and all that other stuff, I feel like I don't know them. Things advance. Even buying baby things with my first daughter, I didn't do genetic testing because it wasn't readily available. By the time my second came around, and even the pregnancy that I lost in between and my third, genetic testing was a breeze. Having to wait 5 months for the anatomy, the anatomy screening to find out if anything was wrong with the kid, and also to find out the gender, that felt like nails on a chalkboard. And my kids are not that far apart in age at all. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to take a quick break because I feel like I can talk about this forever. And when we come back, I'm going to talk about a couple of, the things that they're saying we should do as parents. But I feel like it's really just telling us you're here to give clothes to and feed your kid, and that's it. Your opinion doesn't fucking matter, so shut the fuck up. So we'll be back. We're gonna take a break. Stay tuned. Okay, and we are back. So, parenting. Isn't it fun? It's so exhausting, so now as a parent, the things that everybody thought was okay to do, it's like, it's not okay to do anymore. I always felt like I didn't like it growing up. I didn't like being told what to do. I didn't like that my mom said that she knew more than I did. I didn't believe my mom when she said that my first love wasn't going to be my first love. And I didn't believe my mom when she said that certain friends were just not good for me. She wasn't always right, but she was very rarely wrong. So I think that as parents, we're supposed to guide our children, and we're supposed to make them feel safe, and we're supposed to allow them the opportunity to experience boundaries. Keeping them under lock and key is not the way to go, and also letting them run as free spirits isn't the way to go. But nowadays, parenting is so fucking hard. You have to do it in a box. It's like, you're not allowed to tell your kids no. Let your kids explore, do whatever they want to do. If they want to go outside wearing a tutu to school, let them, so they can feel that they have options and all this other stuff. And it's like, when did parenting become just sitting down and saying yes to everything? At what point do you step in as a parent and say, hey, I'm supposed to do this to keep you safe. I'm telling you this so you don't fucking end up on the front of the news, or this doesn't turn into a Law and Order SVU episode where cops are coming to ask me, did you know your kid was doing XYZ? And it's not. As a parent, it's almost like, do I feel like everybody is equipped to be a parent? Not at all. But do I feel like once you become a parent, it's kind of an on-the-job training, and you are using your own experiences to mold a person? What was that show that I was watching? The Mayans. The Mayans, this guy says, he's like, he says, nobody does parenting right. The key to parenting is to not fuck them up as much as you were fucked up, but or to fuck them up less than you were fucked up, and also not to not to surpass that. Basically, just do a little bit better than your parents did for you, and you will be fine. I know what about my parenting. I compare my parenting to my mother's and my father's. I compared my parenting to my parents because it happens all the time. My parents sit there and they tell me, well, I in my household we eat chicken and turkey. It's all we eat. So when I tell them that my kids don't eat beef or pork, they're like, "Well, you ate beef and pork, and you're here, and you're just fine." Yeah, I'm also overweight, which is something that I've struggled with my entire life. When I was a kid, I was in danger of being a diabetic, and I don't want that for my kids. That's like, I feel like when my parents say, be like, "You're here, you're alive, you're healthy, you're thriving." It's like saying you can go outside and fuck 100 people raw and be like, "Well, I didn't get an STD, did I?" Okay, that don't mean shit. That means that you got lucky. That doesn't, if you go outside and you fuck 100 people and nobody turns out pregnant or has an STD, then that just means that you didn't, it means that you beat some odds, which is the same thing for parenting. If you get your kid to a place where they're alive and they are okay, then all that means is that they made it. People go to war, they come back and didn't die. That doesn't mean that they haven't been through some shit. Okay, that doesn't mean they didn't break a leg. That doesn't mean they didn't get shot. It just means they got an opportunity to go home. So when you as a parent, when I hear my parents say, "Well, this is what I did for you when you were little and you're okay," that just means that you didn't kill me, Mom. That just means that I'm okay, Dad. So parenting is, I try in my style to keep in mind the things that I didn't like about parenting. And I had to be really realistic about myself because obviously no kid likes being parented. It's somebody who's telling you what to do perpetually. I'm talking about the things that really 100% was like, damn, I really wish I'd listened to that because my mom was right. Oh, fuck, I guess you do have to eat your vegetables because, I mean, I didn't like carrots growing up and now I fucking wear glasses. Is that the reason? Probably not, but it certainly didn't help that I didn't like eating carrots. So, you do have to eat your vegetables. You do have to eat healthier. As you get older, your eating habits are determined by what you did. My kids have not had a drop of soda, and my oldest is 5. There are kids that I know that at this age have already had soda. Now they've had McDonald's. They think the McDonald's is the best thing ever, but that's also because I rarely let them have McDonald's and it comes with a toy. It's about picking and choosing what's best for you and what you want, what kind of lifestyle you want your kid to lead. Sorry. So when I see all these articles about how you're supposed to let your kid decide what they want to do with their life, and don't scar them by letting them know that their feelings are unimportant, and always let them try things that they want to try because they need to expand their worldview. It's like, okay, but when do I step in as a parent and say, yeah, Jimmy, I don't want you to do this because I know that it's going to be very, I'm not saying that I want like, hey, you have to go to Ivy League and do college. And I've completed college. I think college is important. I have a degree and I'm sitting here talking to you guys. That's not to say that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that having a degree didn't guarantee me a level of security where at 27 I was making so much money that I didn't have to worry about it. I do still face struggles with unemployment, but that's because of how the world is. I do this full time. This is something that I want to do full time. I want to bring content to you full time, but that's a personal choice. And I only have that freedom because I served, because I do have other methods that help provide a cushion for me to be able to do this and not immediately be worried about where my rent is going to be paid from. But I do have financial struggles. I don't care if my kids go to college. I don't, because my goal is to set them up so that way, whether they go or don't go, they have the right tools for what they want to complete in their life. I see kids all the time that when I step outside at the supermarket, they're being reckless. People tell me all the time, oh, your kids are so nice, just because they're not running around and tearing shit off the walls and throwing stuff and screaming and being reckless. Of course the fuck they're not going to. The daggers that I would stare into their soul until it died if they decided to do some buffoonery like that in public and embarrass me is crazy, because it is an embarrassment. Are kids reckless? Sure. Are they loud? Yes. But to a certain extent. Letting your kid act reckless out in public because you want to let your kid practice freedom of expression. No. I am teaching my children to say please and to say thank you. My 1-year-old, when I change his diaper, he goes and throws it out in the garbage. That's not because I'm lazy. That's because my children need to understand picking up after yourself. My kids have put their plates in the sink since they could reach the sink. They throw their stuff away in the garbage. After they're done taking a shower, they pick their clothes up off the floor and they put it in the hamper. Now my kids are 5, 3, and 1. And they all do this. My 1-year-old, obviously, he doesn't know how to do that to the extent that, that my oldest does. So I go with him and I put the clothes in his hand and I walk with him to the hamper and he puts his clothes down there and we cheer and we clap, yay! Because you need to know that that's what you do. When I call my kids and I go, hey, so-and-so, hey, Jamila, and she goes, what? No. That is a problem. Okay, you don't say what. You say yes, mom. You don't refer to me as she. You say, mom said so, not that's what she said. Okay, and those are just basic forms of respect. I'm not being too strict with my kids. Oh, but why don't you let your kids have soda and candy? They're kids. Okay, and what the fuck happens, Sally, when they're no longer kids and they're teenagers with obesity problems? Everybody used to come at me about my kid because Adriana was like this. Well, first off, she was a fucking behemoth of a baby. She was huge. She was wearing size 5 Pampers by the time she was, I want to say, like 6 or 7 months. She had the chunkiest leg with folds on top of folds on top of folds. Her wrists were so chubby that they had a crease that looked like you could unscrew them off and attach on another hand. Like fucking Lala Loopsy dolls. Okay? And everybody said, oh my God, what are you feeding that child? And whatever. And I was like, absolutely nothing. And I'm not putting her on a diet either. I'm giving her the things. First off, she was breastfed up until she was, I believe, 15 months. And that's almost all she drank. She didn't even want cow's milk. And breast milk evaporates within 90 minutes. So, it wasn't a matter of what I was feeding her, but everybody has a goddamn opinion. Now, my 5-year-old is tall and lithe and lean, and there isn't an ounce of chubbiness on her. She's got a very athletic body. My 3-year-old is also getting older and slimming out. My 1-year-old is a solid little brick man, but I know that give it time, he is also going to slim out. But those things, the soda and candy and cookies, they become a problem when your kid has to live in it. And just because you're not going to make it to see them turn 86 doesn't mean that you don't have to give them all the tools for them to get there long after you're gone. Okay? You have to make sure that, I used to say this thing, people ask me why I didn't take like Tylenol and stuff like that, but I don't take things for pain. And I make a joke about how I want to save my kidneys and my liver for old age. Think about your kid's life as a pension plan, okay? Your pension plan, depending on how early you retire, they don't give you your full benefits when you retire. And I think everybody should know this. They don't generally give you your entire pension plan then because they know it has to last you until you die. So at certain milestones, I forgot what the increments are, but I know that by the time you reach 80 is when I think like you unlock maximum pension benefits. And I only learned all this because my dad, when he was getting his pension, he was like, This is not what I'm supposed to be getting. I'm supposed to be getting X amount. And I was like, oh, something's wrong, whatever. But then I studied his benefits packet, and it stated that, as he gets older, then he'll get the full benefits. And that's because the closer you are to death, the older you are, then it's like, okay, there's less money coming out of our pocket. As you get older, your working potential goes down. So they're trying to make all the money that you earned last you up until that moment. So they dole it out in increments, and the older you get, that means the less time that you're going to be using that pension. So they increase the amount that you get. It's the same thing with your kid. If you start fucking them up from the beginning because, oh my God, they're not going to keep these teeth, and oh my God, they can go ahead and work it off as they get older. What about the things that they can't work off? Cholesterol issues at 10. Okay, premature, diabetes, heart disease, all these things because, oh my God, well, they're kids, they can have cookies and candy, but those eating habits extend when they become teenagers and as they become adults. Okay, I still unhealthily put salt on my sandwiches. I do, and that's something that I got as a kid. Okay, when I was a kid, there were a ton of things that I could just heat up and do, and I didn't have the healthiest eating habits growing up. I mean, that's not to say that my mom didn't include vegetables in my diet. After she became a diabetic, she sure did. But what about before then? I think that it's important for my kids to eat well now so that when they get older and they get stupid with money and they want the freedom to order out because now they're making their own money and they can do so, they have habits. Let me tell you something. One of the proudest moments I have as a parent. So I fucked up these cake pops I made like 2 weeks ago, right? I made the cake from scratch. The cake came out great. I made the cream cheese frosting from scratch. Shit came out great. What didn't come out great is the ratio of when I put them together. There was too much frosting in the cake, and so it kind of was like a cake soup. It was not shit that I could turn into balls. It really wasn't. It was too sticky. It was too sugary. And then I went ahead and because I was making cake pops, after I managed to somewhat form them into a ball, I dipped them in chocolate and in the melting chocolate. And I gave one to my daughter. And let me tell you something. That thing was so sweet that when I bit into it, it felt like my face was being drilled into. I felt like all my teeth were falling out. But they're kids and they like sweets. So I gave one to my daughter. And she gets through about half of it before she's just like, Mom, I need water. I was like, are you okay? She goes, yeah, this is just too sweet. I don't want any more. I'm okay. Like, I don't know what you're going to do with all those cake pops, but I don't want any more. And that made me proud because I'm like, okay, my daughter can recognize. She isn't one of those kids that you see on TV that eat so much sweets until they feel like they're going to throw up and gag. She can recognize when something is too sweet. She knows that after she eats sweets, she needs to brush her teeth and drink water. And these are all the tools that I'm giving to my child so she can go ahead and be a better person with healthier living. When I see people or when I read articles about how you're just supposed to let your kid live their own path and not interfere unless they're in immediate danger, that is the danger. Kids without boundaries are the fucking danger, in case nobody knew. Whenever you hear about kids who basically raise themselves, latchkey kids, whatever it is, it's really fucking hit or miss, you guys. Those kids that have no boundaries. Oh, but I'm just letting them explore their options and I'm still giving them a roof over their head and blah, blah, whatever. Kids need boundaries. They don't know how to walk the path of life. Okay. It's like a bowling game and you need to have the guardrails up. You need to know when to put them down and when it's time to keep them up. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. So we're going to take a quick break before I come back to wrap up the segment with some final thoughts. If you could just stay tuned, we'll be back. All right, everybody. Whew. That's a lot to cover, and I feel like a lot of it was going off on tangents, but thank you for bearing with me. I appreciate you. So, parenting. It is not fucking easy, you guys. I get these emails from Baby Center all the time, signs you are creating a confident individual. And so, I see these in my kids. My oldest, she has anxiety. She wants to be liked. She sees that somebody does something that's funny and they laugh at that person. She wants people to laugh at her. She's like, I want to make people happy. I want that kind of attention. Why can't I do that? And I resent that all the time, because that's the kind of person that I used to be. I used to be so starved for attention that I would do anything for the attention. I remember when my kid's dad came to see me when I was in the Army. I knew he wasn't this kind of guy, but, I put on short shorts because I wanted him to look at my ass. And I put on, this tight top that accentuated my boobs. And, I went to pick him up and I let my hair all flowing and loose. Let me tell you something. That man couldn't have cared if I showed up in sweats. All right. He was just happy to see me. But at that time, that's kind of what is pumped everywhere. That, women who wear the short shorts and they've got long legs for days and they've got a good bust and all that other stuff. That's the stuff that, men lust after. I didn't even take into consideration that wasn't really his style. I just lumped him in with all other men and was like, you know what? He's gonna like this. There were so many things that I did. Oh my God. Complete side note, and it would be another episode completely. But ladies and gentlemen, please do not play the fucking jealousy game. Don't. Anybody you have to play that game with isn't fucking worth it, because anybody that only pays attention to you because they're scared that they're going to lose you to somebody else, that's just fucking pathetic. Okay? Anybody that chooses to play games with you, they're not worth it, because that means that their communication skills are so low, or they value themselves so little that they cannot communicate to you effectively that if this isn't happening, then they should go, because they shouldn't deal with this. I wanted to make him jealous. There were things about me that I let him believe because I thought that they would somehow get me the commitment that I was looking for. Newsflash, it didn't. It really didn't. But these are the things, I see my daughter, she seeks approval from others, and I'm just like, oh my God, please, no. I know she's going to be my problem child. I know it. And I just wish that when I was a kid and I got my heart broken because a boy didn't like me back, my mom was more concerned with, well, what had I done with that boy, and why did I have a boyfriend, and why was I in such a rush to grow up, and all that other stuff. And without, I wish that I could have came to my mom with the struggles that I had with boys and all this other stuff. And I couldn't, because my mom was more concerned about how I'd broken the rules instead of what was actually going on. And I really hope that the first time, because there will be multiple times out, that when any of my kids get their heart broken, that they care less about the fact that they broke the rules and they come to me and tell me. Because aside from everything, I don't know if everybody remembers getting their heart. I feel like that's the only thing everybody remembers, getting their heart broken for the first time. Oh my God, that shit feels like your soul is being fucking ripped out of your chest, and somebody's stomping on you. It's like you can't breathe for air. It's like you're gonna throw up, but it's in your chest all the time. It's the worst anxiety. It's the pain that they describe when they ask you about fucking heart attacks. Okay? It's your throat gets dry and there's a lump and all of that. And as a kid who hasn't experienced that, it feels like the worst thing in the world. So when my kids come to me and they say, Mom, I know that I'm too young to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but this is what happened, and or maybe they sleep with them at a young age, and I slept with them and they broke up with me. I would hope that my kid understands that at that point, I care less that they broke the rules, and I just want to hug them. And I want to go through this breakup with them so they know that it is okay to come to me, that I will lift you up when you feel like you can't stand. I will provide you with air when you feel like you can't breathe. because I care more that someone hurt my baby than the fact that you went behind my back to do something that you thought you was grown enough to do, but you realize you can't handle it. And kids without boundaries, they go to, not every kid without boundaries turns out fucked up. I think that I turned out okay. My mom was both somebody with a lot of boundaries and not enough. And I don't know how else to explain that except, I spent a lot of time alone as a kid. And, my mom had rules, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, you're not allowed to go out if the house isn't clean and all this other stuff. But also it was, there were very little things that I was told I couldn't do. I was working at 16. I was bartending at 18. My boundaries didn't, it seems like they only existed when I started to test them. When my mother knew I started to test them, I should say. Because, I had boyfriends that I didn't tell my mom about. Or I had crushes on guys that I didn't tell my mom about. So it just seems more like I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it except that I really hope that my kids embrace the boundaries that I give them and that it provides them with the appropriate tools for this life. Because I will always encourage my kids to be honest with me, and I will always encourage them to be open with me. What I will not tolerate is not giving my kid advice because, oh my God, you don't want to push your experiences off onto your children because that might scar them. Oh, you don't want to tell them about that because they might be too young for that. I let my kids, when I'm watching something that has like violence and all that other shit, I don't, to a certain extent, if it's gory, I won't let them watch it, but just the shit where people are cursing and punching each other and all that other stuff. Since my kids were young, I let them see me watch Law and Order and stuff like that because I want them to have a realistic vision of the world. I'm not going to shield them. I need them to know what it's like because this is what the fuck the world is like. You're going to look at it and you're going to see it for what it's for. If my kid swears, am I going to throw a fit? No, but you will hear that there is a time and place for everything. If my kid tells me, for example, technology, like I said, parents in today's day and age, they have to deal with technology. I have rules in my house. You are only allowed to take your tablet into bed on Friday and Saturday when you don't have school the following day. When you do, you get your tablet after school, but when it's time to go to sleep, it is time to go to sleep. Am I dictating what time, like what my kids do when they're in bed? No, my girls share a room. I know they're going to sit there and talk until they fucking fall asleep. I don't care about that. But you will follow rules in this house. I will give you the best guidance possible. I'm not going to be afraid to tell you something because I'm afraid of looking like a bad mom. If giving you my experience and giving you boundaries and trying to shield you from the shit that I know is going to hurt you in this world makes me a bad parent, well, fucking mark me down. I'm not going to stay quiet. I'm not going to pay attention to what the fuck this world is saying that, oh, but it's their journey. They don't fucking know what their journey is yet. Okay? Does that mean that I'm going to stop them from being who they identify as? No, hell no. Be whoever it is that you want to be. If you want to try something, tell me. We'll do it together. You want to try something alone? That's okay too. I don't force my kids to kiss relatives that they don't want to. Hell, I don't even force them to kiss me. When I ask for a hug or kiss that they don't want to because they're mad or whatever the fuck, fine, be mad. I'm not going to force you to do it. But there are certain things that you will respect. Okay, I'm not one of those parents that you can go to school and tell whatever the fuck you want to the teacher because the teacher isn't supposed to, X, Y, Z. No, you will respect your elders. And then if some crazy shit is happening, you're going to come to me and tell me so that way I can get on that teacher's level. It is not your job as the student or as the child to get into an adult's face. That is never okay because there is always a better way to handle it. But I think that nowadays we're all just too fucking scared about, we're so scared about ruining our kids that what we're doing is we're giving them no guidance and letting them raise themselves. And if that's the case, well, then all those fucking orphans should just go out there and get a job and, put it on their resume and go out into the world and be alone. Because being a parent nowadays it's just so fucking scary. Okay, beating your kids is not the answer. Being extra nice with your kids isn't the answer. And it isn't even a guarantee that your kid is going to fucking like you. The best that you can do is share your experiences with your children. Be honest with your children. Don't treat them as dumb because they are children. And worry first about being their parent and not their fucking friend. With that being said, that wraps up Monday's episode of Spilling the Anxiety. I did not keep this as short as I wanted to, but like I said, it's something that hits home, so whatever, you guys. Until next time, until Wednesday, tune in. And if you can, please visit my website, www.spillinganxietea.com. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok at powher, POWHER _poetry. And for the most part, I follow back. So stay tuned for Wednesday's episode, and we'll see you soon.